and blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. I'm your co-host, Dawn Light, and I've got my beautiful co-host here, Trish Wright, with me. Yay! We have a special guest today. I'm going to read a little short bio for her introduction. And before I do, I really want to say thank you to our viewers. You're amazing. We're so grateful that you're here with us weekly. And for our new ones, welcome. We're so excited to have you and support you on this self-love growth journey because we're all on it as beautiful spiritual beings having a human experience. Here we are, live and in action. And for those that don't know, we have a YouTube channel, so that's exciting. Please go there, like, share, and subscribe because there's lots of amazing topics. And we just want to get the message of self-love out. And it's really important to us, and it's kind of a mission we each share in, and it really supports every walk of life. And we just invite you into like a deeper conversation with self-love with this show. So without further ado, going to introduce our amazing guest today, beautiful Dr. Marty Casey. So we ask you to join us as she teaches us how to care for ourselves more deeply using the 314 technique. Dr. Marty Casey is the founder and president of Show Me Arts Academy and the UnGUN Institute. So welcome, Marty.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dawn. And thank you, Trish, for having me. The very first thing I want to say, it's not 314, it's 314.
Oh, yeah.
314. That's important, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But I'm just telling you, I'm so excited to be here. And just looking at your names, can I just say this? It's not right if it's not in the light.
Yes. That's
so
awesome.
I want the viewers to repeat that every time they tune into this show, okay? It's not right if it's not in the lights.
Yes. So good.
So what you all don't know, and I have an inkling about, is how incredible this beautiful woman is. And I just want to thank Scott for bringing Marty into my life. And I really want to hear a little bit about all the amazing things that you've done in your lifetime. And did you just drop a new song? Like, what did I just see?
No, I have a new book that's coming out. It's a new book that's coming out. It's a fun book. And it's stories, little short stories about different people that I have met along the way, my journey or what have you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the name of my book is called Jelly Bean Shoes. And I don't know if you all grew up with a pair of jelly bean shoes. Did you all have a pair?
Oh, yes. I had jelly shoes. I know what those are.
Okay, Trish, you didn't have a pair of jelly bean shoes?
Oh, well, to be really honest, my family was really poor. So I didn't have those.
Okay, well, let me tell you, jelly bean shoes, that was the thing. It was really for people that, couldn't afford maybe the nice leather shoes or something like that. So it was like everybody could really get a pair of jelly bean shoes. They were really inexpensive. They're plastic, Trish. And they come in multicolors. They were so cheap that my grandmother hated them. And she would not allow me to wear jelly bean shoes on my feet. And so, because for her, what she would say is that, your journey, like who you are, where you've been, and even where you're trying to go, people will judge you by the soles of your shoes. Wow. She says, wow. Now they judge your soul, SOUL, by the SOLE of your shoes.
Huh. Wow.
You can look down at your feet. And they can by judgment, of course, which we should never do. No judgment, just love. That's what my good friend says, Sharon. And so I do really, truly believe in that we shouldn't be judging each other, but we find our little ways. And my grandmother, she thought that was oh no, when you look down at my shoes, you're going to see some expensive shoes on my feet because I'm going somewhere. in life. And so I want to talk about that journey that I've been on for a long time. And it didn't start off, let me say this, my journey didn't start off in the greatest manner or what have you. It started off, I came from a broken home. My father was an alcoholic. We all have a story. Let me just say this, because I don't want to tell my story where it sounds like I'm trying to yank tears out of people's eyeballs today. That's not what that's not what it's about. It's just who I am and where, and what makes me who I am today.
This is important. It's
It is.
important.
It is, Dawn. I think so. So,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that I do. I try to encourage people to tell your story. You can't change what has happened in your past or who you are or where you come from, but you can change how you feel about it. See,
Yeah.
when we still hold on to grudges and not being able to forgive someone who has offended us along the way, that's what stops us in life. It's not what we really have gone through. We made it out of that stuff. But what stops us is when we still hold on to the feelings that holds us back. You know what I'm saying? So my father was an alcoholic, but I was a daddy's girl. I loved him in spite of. But what I did have a hard time dealing with is how he was showing up in my mother's life, that abuse that we witnessed as children, him doing those things to my mother is what caused a lot of trauma,
Yes.
issues with my brother and I witnessing that.
Mhm.
And it didn't, when you're 8 years old, you don't necessarily get it, you don't see it, but it started showing up in me when I was in high school. I mean, I found myself being like this angry young lady. It's like you couldn't say anything to me. I was so offended by anything anybody would say, and I took everything so personal. But what it was is that I was full of trauma up to here. So when you're trying to add something on top of that, it was just spilling out of me because I had no room to take in anything else. I was already full, right? And so I needed to ungun that. I needed to get rid of, remove, and empty out anything that I couldn't use that was not benefiting me. And that's where I learned how to ungun. But I didn't realize that was going to be the term or be a thing until later on in life. So my story and my journey is how I have gone from being a troubled teen to now a global peace ambassador. And
Yes.
that's what, yeah. So it was so many people that I met along the way that poured into me and was able to, give me some opportunities that, one, I didn't think I deserved. Two, I didn't even know that, that I could be that person to show up and do some of this stuff, but they gave me an opportunity. And I said, you know what do I have to lose? Let me go for it. And just by trying and going for it, I realized I was worth so much more than what I was giving myself credit for. That
Mhm.
self-love started to evolve, that self-respect, that self-discipline, all of that. And so that's why it's important, because self-care is it's a word we're kind of throwing around a lot. Everybody's talking about self-care, healing, and all of that, which is great, because we need it. We definitely need it. But if you don't talk about self-love, and you don't talk about self-respect, and you don't talk about self-discipline, you will never get to a point in place of even understanding you need self-care. Because why are you going to care for self if you don't love self?
Well, I
Right?
think that it can be a very detached viewpoint for those that aren't really like leaning into self-love, true self-love, and understanding that in a deep exploration. They can see it on a very surface level where it's just about nails and hair and like the outside expression of beauty versus really leaning into like, what is the spiritual lessons here through all I'm going through? That's deep self-love. When you're willing to digest all the parts, right? And yes, self-care can mean going and getting a massage and, painting your eyes and doing all the things we want to do because it's important to feel beautiful and expressed. Yes, it's a part of it, but it's like really the deep inner work is the gold.
Absolutely. It's it's all connected to feelings. So, what we see, taste, touch, hear, smell, all of that is what helps us to determine our decisions. Like, right?
Mhm.
Believe it or not, it sounds real simple and superficial, but it really isn't. I'm telling you, it starts with how you feel.
Mhm.
And now how I feel about something may not be the same way that Trish will feel about it. And it definitely may not be the same way, Dawn, you feel about it. We can name one thing right now. It could be a food. I'm gonna name a food, and you tell me how you feel about it. Lobster. Yeah. Okay, we all feel the same. Yay.
I love it.
We all happen to feel the same about it. But imagine if someone was on here that's allergic
Lutefisk.
to it.
What
What did
is
you say? What did you say, Trish?
Lutefisk. It's a Norwegian dish where it's like a white fish soaked in lye, and it's like
I've
fish
never had that.
flavor.
I've never heard of that.
I don't know what that is.
See, okay, cool. Do you see what I'm saying? Something as simple as that. If we don't have a connection with it, we don't have a buy-in, a feeling about it, that's automatically going to put us on opposite ends. So even though you've tried it, Trish, and you've given the thumbs down, I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, me either.
It's like I have no idea what that is. So the point that I'm making here, it starts with experiences. It starts with your belief system,
Mhm.
and it starts with how you feel about it. And until we can answer those three things when it comes down to how people are showing up, and we give people a little bit of grace about that, because they may not have had the same experience that we have had growing up and believe in the same things that we believed in growing up, right? Soon as I said, "What if jelly bean shoes?" and you was like, "No, we were poor," and I'm like, "But those were for people that could, that,
I mean, we were poor.
but but what I'm getting at, Trish, automatically in my mind, through my feelings and my belief system, you could have afforded those in my mind. But who am I to tell you how poor you were?
Yeah.
I didn't live your life.
Mhm.
And see, when we can understand that, let me meet you where you are and let me trust you in your experiences, and you know you better than anybody. That's where that self-care comes in for me. I'm responsible for me and how I show up,
Mhm.
as you are for you.
Yes.
But we're so busy trying to judge on the outside that we disconnect every time. And that's where we bring in a lot of judgment. And that's where we then disconnect.
Mhm.
So where judgment comes from is a personal belief. So if I'm judging Dawn or if I'm judging you, it is a trigger to my values. It is a place where I hold myself accountable sometimes. A lot of the time we can't even hold our own judgments. Like, why do I do that thing? Well, we're habituated to do those things.
Mhm.
I wanted to take it back just a slight bit, is when we were talking about self-care, and I know that this is the conversation, is so many people, we live in a codependent society.
Mm.
We live in a society, for many, many generations, the global society is fairly codependent, where we have learned to sacrifice self, or that love is sacrifice. And so then we start to get these things where it's like, I can't care for myself because that is selfish, or that is abusive to another. Well, we don't understand, and we're just now like having a whole wave of this awesome self-love movement, that's juicy and wonderful, is that it's if my gas tank is empty, then I can't actually care for you, Marty. Like, if I am literally like, I am barely making it and I am like strings right here,
Mm-hmm.
I can be honest about it. I can be like, Dawn, I'm just strings. I'm like tethered. Like, I'm just like phrase over here. And that gives her the opportunity to say, oh, you can't show up for me. I can go find it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could just do a weird thing and just be like, okay, I have to do this for Dawn. And then that becomes the self-abandoning cycle of,
Obligatory.
And so when we're talking about self-care, it's being really radically honest with your love. Like, hey, I need to love here. I need to go do self-care. I need to go sleep for an entire day because my last week was like whatever. Or I need to go take a bath because I'm angry with my children, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Whatever helps you to feel better.
To build
Feel alignment.
The
Said it again.
container of capacity.
We all said two. We were all saying different things. So, Dawn, what did you say?
I said create alignment.
Yes.
Create alignment. I love that because I'm all
Alignment.
about creation. And Trish, what did you say?
Oh, I was just that is like the creating the container for capacity. Like if I have no capacity, I really just need to be honest about that. And self-care is so important, especially for a lot of us who are doing a lot of deep inner transformation work, who are doing our physical healing work, for people who are on the front lines of self-love and the changes that we're seeing in the world. Like, we need a lot of self-care.
We need a lot of self-care. And you know what I love? I love that you both use the word creating, because UnGUN, with UnGUN Institute, with the process that I've created with UnGUN, it's all about the arts. It gives you the freedom to not have those boundaries, closing you in. UnGUN is, let me see if you can see that behind me. You see my logo there? That's a U. And inside of that U it says art. And that paintbrush that's sticking out of there, it's a teardrop that's falling off that paintbrush. Because ungunning means that whatever emotionally you have inside of you that's holding you back, go ahead and let it out and use your natural born talents and gifts to create what you need to be better, to feel better, and to show up better in life.
Yes.
That gunning, that you represents you and how deep whatever is inside of you. It's not, ungunning is not for me. I'm not ungunning. I ungun for self. I'm not ungunning for someone else. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you ungun, Dawn, it's for you. Trish, when you ungun, it's for you. And that is really important. Because of what we have created with UnGUN is a lot of tools and techniques, just small reminders that will help people remember what to do and when to do it. Now, let me say this. I'll be the first to tell you, we haven't reinvented the wheel over here. It's not that at all. But what we've gathered the pieces that really work, that will help people get to where they're going. I love, all of these new cars that's that's out on the road or what have you. But what gets me about a new car is that you have all of these different components, and you got to learn how to work the radio in this car, and then this car has this feature and this one has that feature. And I say all the time, I wish I could build my own car. I wish I could say, this is the only feature I want in this. This means that to me, and I use that, and I use this, and make sure I have that. Because people will build a car according to what they think you should have. But you need to build your own car according to what you need and where you're trying to go. Because anything else would be a distraction. Anything else would be a waste of time, and definitely a waste of money.
I love that you said that. So I wish I would have brought it in. I'm in this course right now. I'm very, very lucky to be in this course right now. And so yesterday they're having us look at what our support systems, like what the roots of the tree. I'm just gonna show it to you. So it's a dance, art, gestalt workshop that lasts a year. Anyway, so we're drawing, and she's like, build a tree of all the things, of the places that you're reaching out and giving your energy to. And on the underneath, show what the roots are supporting you. What's your support? And I was looking at it yesterday, and I was like, ooh, I'm really top heavy. I'm really top heavy. And I was like, oh no, I really have to learn. I'm going to be trimming the tree, or discerning where I put my energy, and really getting more clear and direct and not distracted. And I love that you brought that up. I invite any of our viewers and our listeners right now just to think about your life and what is the distraction? Yeah. What is a distraction that you allow yourself that, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can have your TV or your workouts or your dancing and all of the things. You need to shut your brain off. But what is that, the distractions in your life? that you're kind of using as a crutch, or like, oh, that person, or that thing that I do, or that's oh, I have to do that, but it's actually a distraction keeping you from doing what's aligned and real and alive. So
it's so important. That's so important. And I tell, and thank you for sharing that, Trish. And I actually even like that visual of the tree and the branches of where we're reaching out to, but what's supporting you. That's good. I love that. But I want to share that another thing that's important based off of what you just said. It is so okay. It's so okay to unplug. Unplug, but never disconnect.
I love that.
Unplug, but never disconnect. The reason for that is that unplugging simply means right now I need to basically remove myself from any energy that's pulling too much juice from me. I need to unplug. But when you totally disconnect, that means you're cutting off all sources of ever even being able to receive energy as well as give energy out. So disconnecting could be very, 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 very bad. And I'll give you a prime example. We can unplug in a socket in our house. You know what I'm saying? We're plugging in our cell phone. We can unplug that. But man, if you ever get your lights cut off, that's a disconnection. You will, whether you want to plug in or can't, but there's nothing that's going to come through that plug anymore. Because the disconnect is the whole source of being able to receive working electricity. So you never want to be disconnected, but unplugging, you have the control of being able to say, if I want to have some juice coming through here right now, or I don't. And you should be aware of when you need to do that. Don't look for someone else to come and unplug you. People will continue to, you ever had your charger plugged in and people don't even ask, they just come and plug their phone up to your charger? Like, well, that is my charger. I mean, if you want some juice, you could at least ask if you can use my charger. People will just do that. If they see they see some juice, honey, and plug, and always pull where they can. So if you don't want anyone to just plug their phone up to your juice, unplug your charger. Unplug your charger.
That's a great analogy. I love it.
Especially if you're a bright light worker, right?
I really wanted to bring forward, there was lots of beautiful sharing going on right now, but I really wanted to bring forward just the piece around judgment. What came forward when I was hearing, and I was just patiently waiting to share this piece, but judgment is actually self-condemnation. And it's rooted in when we're imprinted in our life from experiences, teachers, parents, circumstances, life circumstances imprint us. And that's what gives us that core foundational way of relating to ourselves. And it's triggered through people. Someone will come along and say something and it'll ruffle our feathers, or it'll bring a rise for the judgment to surface so that we can actually see it, because we're judging outside circumstance. So outer reality is an expression of inner reality. And so it's an opportunity to really lean in and go, wow, where am I judging this person, this circumstance, whatever, because it's a deeper opportunity to see yourself and to do a lens of perception and really allow your heart to open and have forgiveness for yourself around the discovery of what you're meeting. And it's really an opportunity to really allow yourself to open to a new level of you, because once that judgment's out of the way, the new you can surface, because there's a beautiful golden nugget of a treasure of you awaiting underneath this trapped thing that's hidden by judgment.
I love that so much. I love that so much. One of the things that you just said, and I share this with those who are trained with our UnGUN techniques and tools, is that too many times we put the focus on the enemy. whatever that enemy might be to you at that time, whatever that is, that's something on the outside that you cannot control. It's not showing up the way that you want it to, and it's bringing a negative energy into the space that's causing you to have a reaction. That's what I would identify as the enemy. A lot of times we're so busy looking at the enemy when in fact, in order to basically protect yourself, where do you think I would say you need to put that energy? Not on the enemy, but where?
Inside.
On the inner me.
Yes.
Take it off the enemy and put it on the inner me.
I love that.
And how we one of our tools and techniques that we promote, that we teach, is called turtle in the shell. So it's really easy to remember that the next time you're in a room and the energy is turning real negative and foul, you're feeling something, your anxiety is going up, you're starting to feel, very agitated. And I want you to stop and say, oh, Dr. Marty said that right now I'm giving too much focus to the enemy. I need to put it on the inner me. I need to right now do turtle in the shell. Turtle in the shell. As you see, I just closed my eyes. Something inside of me. Turtle in the shell will allow me to go inside so that I can protect myself. A lot of times we think a turtle goes inside its shell because it's scared. A turtle goes inside its shell because that's what it can control. It can't control the outside force, but it can protect itself when it goes inside of you. Because if that turtle is saying, if I don't go inside of me right now, I might bite you. And if I have to get into a war with you, you'll take me off my journey. And I move slowly on my journey because I'm not in a rush to get anywhere, but I am not looking for anyone to disturb my peace. The turtle is so peaceful. It's such a peaceful animal that just wants to slowly move on its journey. And when predators come, they'll stop and they'll go inside themselves. For them, not for the predator, but for them. And so when you're doing that, it gives you time to breathe. And when we breathe, it allows us time to reset. And when we're able to reset, it allows us time to decide, what do we physically do next? When we don't have that moment to ungun and do turtle in the shell, we will quickly respond according to how something is coming at us, and we fall into their energy. And now what we're doing, we're fighting, we're arguing, we're cussing, we're hitting, we're whatever. And that's what we don't want. Hurt people hurt people. Healed people heal people. Turtle in the shell, that means you're a healer. Go inside yourself, protect yourself, find your peace and your healing. So then when you come back out, that predator is long gone down the road looking back at you like, it didn't even pay me any attention. You've now healed them.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. I love it. Such a simple analogy, and really, it's really great reminder, I share often on the shows for our viewers that tune in weekly. You've heard me say this a million times, but I'm going to say it again. How we relate to the issue is the issue. And that's such a powerful, that spiritual psychology principle alone has changed my life, because it's gotten me to, no matter what is occurring on the outside, if I can just tune in to how am I relating right now to myself while I'm going through this. In that way, you have dominion over yourself, no matter what is occurring on the outside, and you can be present with it and not disconnected from what's really on the inside that's going on. So it just helps you tune in deeper. So it's a little bit of a similar thing, right? Same thing. We're speaking about the same thing, but different wording, right?
Different way of saying it.
Love that.
And you know what? And that's exactly why I say we're not reinventing the wheel, but sometimes you have to reinvent language
Yes.
in order for other people to understand it better. I remember one time my grandmother was trying to teach me how to make this dessert. And my grandmother was not the person that, in my opinion, was the best cook, right? But my great grandmother taught me how to make the dessert, and I got it just like that. My grandmother got upset. She was like, "Well, I tried to show you how to," but in my mind, I had already closed out the idea that what my grandmother was saying, I didn't think, I didn't think she was a great cook. So I didn't necessarily trust what she was saying. I closed that out. But when my great grandmother showed it to me, I was able to get it because she's the person that I eat her cooking every day. So I trusted what she was saying. Sometimes the messenger is delivering the same message, but we respond to someone who we may have a little bit more trust with, or sometimes be a little bit more familiar with, or it looks and appears as if, I don't know, you and I got a little bit more in common. So, I trust you to tell me about this than I would him. You know what I mean? So that's, unfortunately, that's part of human nature. So that's why I believe it's not a good solution is not going to land with just one person. It's going to land with several. But what's going to be the determination of who really gets the message? It depends upon who's delivering the message to them, who they are able to receive. I'm also a singer. And when I'm struggling with learning a song, trying to hear the part, if a man is teaching me the song, I can't get it.
Wow.
But if a woman is teaching me the song, I can hear the note. The reason being is in the tone. I can hear when a man is singing high notes, he's singing in falsetto. Remember, I said it's who you trust with the truth. Falsetto is false, means that's not the truth. It's not the way my ear is designed to hear it. So I literally cannot hear the note, and the note doesn't change, but the tone does. So
That's
I can't hear a man singing it, but if a woman comes along and sing that same note, I got it.
fascinating. That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't trust the person, or if you don't trust the teacher, or the advice or the truth from that,
You're not going to receive it.
no, because you're kind of like, no.
My mind, yeah, I just can't wrap my mind around the fact that, okay, this is a man's voice and he's telling me this is the note. The note's the same. If it's a C, it's a C. And he's playing it and he's singing it, but he's singing it in a falsetto. So the tone changes. So therefore I can't hear it.
The message sent is not always the message received.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's not. Speaking of not,
you can be sending like the most amazing aligned, highest integrity, like just beautiful message. But if that person has got a clouded lens of perception or triggered in the moment, whatever it may be, it's not always received. And we have to remember this in our human nature when we're out and about and doing our things. You can't take it personal when someone else is experiencing or not receiving the message that you're trying to send, and vice versa.
Absolutely. How many times have we've told our children something? I don't know if you all have children. Well, I have a 30-year-old daughter, and I've said something to her, and it's like it was almost as if I was talking like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. And somebody else comes along and they say the exact same thing, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna do that." And
I know.
okay. And then in that moment, I have to remind myself, I'm her mother. So by the time it filters through the tunnel of me being a person of authority, couldn't receive the message because the message didn't change, but the tunnel in which the information was filtered through did. Because I'm mama and she's tired of me telling her stuff. And And that's what happens as the information tries to get to her brain. Oh, tune her out. You don't want to hear from her today
Also,
anyway.
it's just coming from an authority figure alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes that whole lens is not received because it's an authority figure.
It's an authority figure. And it goes back to, what did we say before? Experience, belief systems, and how you feel about it. It goes back to those same three things. So if you get pulled over, Dawn and Trish, let's keep it real, by a police officer, probably no problem.
Nope.
I get pulled over by a police officer. In my mind, I'm replaying my experiences, my belief systems, and how I feel about it.
Yeah.
It's already toxic. It's already on 10 before they even say,
before they even speak to you.
Yeah, I was just pulling you over to let you know you need to close your gas cap. you know, right. But I'm already like, what did I do? What's going on? Let me get someone on, Facebook Live, because they're pulling me over. We've already created and formed something according to what we've already been through, how it filters. The information doesn't change. And sometimes the offense is not even there, but we've created it. It's almost as if, like, your box of cereal is like, or you buy a kid a toy, and some toy says, batteries included, and some says not included. So with some people, there are some things that's already included, and we just have to remember that. And with others, it's not. Perspective.
It's true. And we see that all the time, again, coming back to the food place is, I didn't eat oysters. We're just going to talk about this. I didn't eat oysters for a long time because my mom was invested in me eating these canned oysters that she loved. And I was like, these are the nastiest things. And I would literally vomit. And so for a long time, I was like, I can't even touch oysters, the texture, the taste, the everything. I had an inexperience. I had a belief around it, which was also attached to a feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. It was attached to the intensity at which my mom wanted me to eat these things. And I was like, oh, and with chicken livers too. What is all I have to say. I was like, why? So here I am, just like a little kid, and I'm like, I don't want to eat these. 30 years later, and I'm sitting here like, and my boyfriend at the time goes, you want some oysters? And I was like, and I was like, are you gonna yell at me if I don't eat them? And he looked at me, he's like,
what's wrong?
So I ended up taking one of the fresh oysters, and I was like, I don't even know. Like, here we go. I'll either run to the bathroom or it's gonna be a whole new thing. And I ate it, and it was great. It didn't taste like anything, in fact. And I was like,
wow.
And I had a whole transformed experience, kind of like an UnGUNed experience. He was very loving. He was very kind.
That's awesome.
He gave you.
I was able to press my belief and my boundary to recreate a new experience, to repattern that. And it is so funny in that, because when we're scared, just take a moment for everyone out there watching and listening. It's just like, what are you scared of that is an irrational fear? I love to play this game with myself. I don't know if you guys like to do this, but I like, let's say spiders. I don't have this fear, but I'm like, spiders, or a relationship, or being intimate with someone, like emotionally intimate, like, oh, I'm really afraid. And I'll just be like, I'm really afraid. I'll just tell them, I'll just like out myself completely. And they're often disarmed, right? They're like, oh, okay. And to press into that, because once I do that piece, to just acknowledge that I'm afraid and be able to share my experience and my feelings, and even my beliefs with them, it allows them in.
Yeah.
And it often, especially if they're a safe person, I'm not going to like go to the gas station and be like, hey, I'm afraid to like tell you my secrets. And they're going to be like, whatever, lady. But if I'm telling Marty, like, I want this, I'm scared to tell you these secrets of mine, or these things that I hold that are sensitive.
Yeah.
It allows you in, and we both get to drop into that connection and that intimacy through vulnerability. So
The
You-
word that you use, you said it allows them to disarm.
yes.
Here's the journal. Let me see. You see that? Disarming
Yep.
trauma. That's
Nice.
what UnGUN does. It allows you to disarm trauma.
I love it.
And thank you. And what I love is that the story that you just shared, Trish, about your boyfriend offering the oyster, even though you went through before you ungunned it, it took you back to the trauma of what it once was. Then you ungunned it, which allowed you an opportunity to say, I'm going to try this again. But what was included was his patience and his love and his lack of judgment. That's what was included in that new experience with your mom, because she's your mom and she
Yeah.
buys the food, and you know what I mean, and I get to tell you what you're going to eat and what you're not going to eat, and this my house. It comes loaded with all of that other stuff. And so a lot of times it causes us to have a not so good experience when people when they drag all that other stuff into the situation. And it's when we know better, we do better, right? I am learning so much more now. I tell my daughter, I was a decent mother, but I'm a darn good grandmother.
Yes, amazing.
I'm a darn good grandmother. I was a decent mom. And I was decent because I loved my daughter. But I made a lot of mistakes because I just didn't know better.
Well, you're also growing through it. You're
I had to
learning to be an adult while you're raising a child.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And so, but not everyone is willing
Yes.
to own that, to say that, oh wow, I didn't really do as good at that because probably I wasn't prepared for it yet, or I wasn't ready for it yet, and I made some mistakes, especially when you get to a place where people have come to know you as to where you are right now. I'm a global peace ambassador. Not too many of them are going to say, I was okay. I was all okay, mom. But I was just okay. And the only thing that really simply gave me that high much of a mark of being okay is because I really did love my daughter. But man, I made some horrible mistakes.
Can I ask just a flippant question?
You can.
Is anyone ever prepared for parenting?
Great question.
I
You
have
know
heard.
what? Let me say this. I'm going to say yes. There are some people that want to be parents so bad that they do try to prepare themselves. Now, just because you try to prepare yourself doesn't mean you're going to land on the mark. It just means that what's the word I'm looking for? Like almost like an athlete, you've been practicing. You've really been trying out, and you've been practicing, and you've been going to the gym, and you've been building muscle for this moment. That still doesn't mean you're going to go to the Olympics and win.
My husband and I waited 7 years. We were married 7 years before we had a baby. And my clock ticked at 35, and I looked at him and we were like, well, if we're going to do this, and grandmother had been every year, here's your teddy bear for first baby. Like, when are you going to have a baby? Like every year, And we were like, can you back off the pressure of we really were like making sure, that we were really solid in our relationship before we stepped into that container, and we made love out of that place and made a baby out of that place, and really were welcoming like our, highest potential opportunity in that. And we got it. Like I got pregnant my first try, literally.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so he's an amazing being, and he's 11 now. His name's Vision. And, but it's really awesome. Right. But even though we did our best to be prepared, I did my best. I did a lot of inner work because I was breaking an abuse pattern. I'm a child abuse survivor, and I had to break that cycle. And I was, just excuse my French, I was effing terrified to have a child, and especially to have a boy child. I sobbed when I found out I was having a boy. I cried my eyeballs out because I was so terrified to have a boy. I felt confident with a woman, but not with a man. I didn't because it was a disconnect with my own father and I. And
That's
so
so interesting, Dawn.
isn't it? And so I, as much, and I did a lot of deep belief work. I mean, I paid tons of theta healing. I did theta healing at the time. I paid a ton of theta healers to do a lot of work on me to reprogram myself, to be able to receive a baby, to be able to be an amazing mom, to step into it, to not carry forward any patterning. I was really committed. I did a lot of inner work to just get to that point. And I think that that's what created that opportunity for me to be able to just land it, get pregnant right away. It was like a really amazing opportunity, and the spiritual alignment came for my husband and I. It was just divine timing. And even through all of that, no way were we prepared for what was coming. Like, there was no way. Like, it was an amazing journey, but it definitely turned our life like upside down and inside out, and like was like, all right, now is like, it's juicy and it's here and it's a sacred opportunity. And it was like, you thought you were on your path. Now here's the opportunity to really get on your path.
Yeah, I love that. But I would have to say, with all the work that you did, you really were preparing yourself as much as you possibly could be. But there, I mean, how many people end up pregnant and they're like, I wasn't trying to do that. That's just kind of something that happened. And
and those are divine opportunities as well. Like, I think that it's all built in our spiritual curriculum, however it happens.
Yeah.
Unprepared, prepared, all of it is a part of our spiritual curriculum. However your life unfolds, it's yours.
You're right. I tell people all the time, I wasn't prepared to be short, but I live with it. Okay. Make it happen. I do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's the exact same thing. So I really do love that. One of the things I do want to share with the listeners right now, because this comes up a lot of times we bring on a lot of stress, and stress brings on trauma, and stress sometimes come from when we are communicating with others and we don't know how to say one simple word. No. And I just really want everyone to practice that today, saying no. Now, I want to give you a little context with that, because saying no, we have our belief systems, in most cases, we have formed that to be something negative. But imagine if you look at the word no and placing that in a basket of self-care. Can you imagine that today? When you say no, that it's coming from your basket of self-care. And what I want you to even visualize even more is that when we say yes to someone, it's simply because we have whatever it is that they're asking for, we have it to offer or to give or to loan or to help with, right? If you don't have that, that means that you are not in a place of overflow. So saying yes would put you personally in the negative of your overflow. So I want you moving forward to mentally understand that if someone asks you for something, help, money, food, whatever, shelter, whatever it may be, if you don't have enough in your overflow to say yes, that's what no simply means. I need more overflow. If I had more overflow, I would be able to tell you yes. But it's a no for me because I need more overflow to show up for you like that. I don't have it.
Sacred honoring.
Take it off the enemy, put it in the inner me.
I love that.
Start responding from your inner me, from that place of self-care. I can't control anything anybody else does. I can only control how I show up, how I feel. That's it. So saying no should never be about, oh my God, they're going to be mad at me. They're not, I'm not going to be able to. It's not even about them. It's about you. Your answer should really come from a place if you can do that or not, right? I had a friend the other day called and asked to borrow some money. And she's the kind of friend, she's helped me in the past with money. And I would have loved to. I just didn't have enough in my overflow. And that's what I said to her. I said, oh my gosh, I am so empty in my overflow. I don't have it right now. But if something changes, I'll call you. But I don't have enough in my overflow. And it was the truth.
That's
Honest-
self-honoring.
Yeah. Honesty is one of the most loving acts that we can offer. Honesty without like loving honesty. Not brutal, but radical loving honesty is really one of the most honoring self and honoring other that we can do. And that's the thing about living in a codependent society, is that we're taught to not say no, to bend, to contort, to self-abandon. And instead of saying like, hey, I don't have enough in my bank account, or I don't have enough in my emotional bank account to show up right now, instead of just being like radically honest, we have this tendency to give more. I mean, and I'm talking from a single person's perspective. I'm not talking from a parental perspective. So that is one thing. Like I can't speak to that. And I know that you I assume would have to think about not only your capacity, but what you have for your child too. And so when you're thinking about and weighing your options of like, oh, I have, this young boy here that I'm raising, and my family, and I have to keep him safe. So for me to extend that, even though I have, let's say 75% in my bank account, my emotional bank account, I still have, I give this to my little boy every day. So this is what I need. And I think that that's a really loving place to be.
Absolutely. And Trish, when you said that, being honest, the first person you have to be honest with is yourself, right? I tell people, don't lie to yourself. And then therefore you won't, you know what I'm saying? You won't offer that to anyone else.
Yes.
Stop lying to yourself, right?
Exactly. Well, we're taught not to feel. Like there's a whole society construct teaching us not to be ourselves.
And we're ungunning that, Trish. That's what I'm here for. We're ungunning that, because
Me too.
I said our decisions come from what it really comes from everything that we feel, and we truly feel through all of those emotional portals. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we touch. It's just that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And so if you're honest about those things, then you're able to communicate better. And when that communication is solid, then now we're getting somewhere.
Yes.
We're getting somewhere, right? And it's okay. So even in the case with my friend, I made sure I acknowledged that. I was like, oh my goodness, if it's anybody I would want to help right now, it would be you, because you have shown up like that for me. But I just don't have enough in my overflow right now. This is a bad time. But I tell you what, let me see if I come up with something else, I'll call and let you know. She wasn't upset about that, because I was as honest as I could be. I also validated her in the fact of how she's been that kind of friend to me before. You know what I mean? As well as I didn't shut the door to say that you could never knock and ask for this again. I'm saying, hey, you don't even have to knock. If I come up with something, I'm going to call you.
Yes.
So that is how we can build better relationships with one another.
Who knew? I do want to bring in this piece, like, been spending some time. So I'm a radically honest person, and for a long time, there was a lot of, again, fawning, contortioning, all of these pieces around just being a female-bodied human in this lifetime. And so there's a lot of things that I've been really looking at and dissolving the way that we get our needs met. So people pleasing is an essentially like a gaslighting sort of technique that we are taught to do. We're like, yes, I want to do that, when everything inside of me is like, no. And the person's like, are you sure? And you're like, yes, yes. You know,
I want to eat this oyster.
yeah, exactly. Okay. And what I've been noticing, like, as I, travel around to my family members or to people I meet, is that so when you start to align yourself with your truth and your honesty and your integrity and your values, and, learning to ungun yourself, then the people in your life also start to shift. Like, they either shift away, or you have people come in to your life that are also aligned with your values. So sometimes when I'm just hearing, because it's alive in me right now, was this piece of like, oh, if I'm constantly lying, if I'm constantly people pleasing, and people can't trust me because I'm not actually being honest, and I'm distorting reality in this sense, then the people around me are going to probably be doing the same thing. And that's the quality, or the connection that we have is not based on a foundation of shakiness and untruths. So we start to radically align ourselves with being honest, and being like honest with ourselves and expressing out, like, I'm uncomfortable right now. I don't have enough. I love you. I want to show up for you, and I just can't. It's just such a powerful realignment. Dawn knows kind of like what's up for me right now. So it's like, this is the piece. And so if you're wondering why your people in your life are the way they are, look at who you are. I would like to hear a little bit more about how to do some self-care and about the 314.
Absolutely. And you all stay on the screen with me. I like to look like I'm talking to somebody. So please stay on the screen.
Okay.
314 is really simple. As you see, I'm wearing a St. Louis hat because I'm born and raised in St. Louis. I still live in my city, and I love St. Louis. But you also know that we have experienced a lot of trauma after the unrest of Ferguson, when Michael Brown was murdered. As being an actress who lives just 10 minutes away from where that happened, I shut it all down, and I was like, let me go to the streets. And I wanted to be frontline to see how I can show up and what I had to offer, right? Because I had some stuff in my overflow, and I wanted to share that. And what I had was the ability, as an actress, one of the things we're accustomed to is being on stage and having a mic, so we're not afraid to speak. And we love people, because that's why we perform. We perform our shows for other people to have that experience and enjoyment. So I really knew right off the bat that, hey, as artists, performance artists, we're some of the best ones to be out here right now to help to turn some of this stuff around. And I was right. But in the process of experiencing that 7 years ago, I knew then, I said, wow, if we don't create some spaces for people to heal, this trauma is going to be transferable. And we're going to start seeing it showing up in people 5, 6, 7, 10 years later. And we're going to be seeing them showing up in ways that we can't identify or explain why they're acting like this. Because again, it's almost like having some contaminated let me say this, that we've been talking about food. So let me give you another quick example. We all agree that we love lobster, right? Well, I have prepared this beautiful, just juicy lobster for us with some hot butter on the side for us to dip in, and you're gonna love it. I apologize. I don't have any clean bowls. So I'm going to have to take this cereal that I ate last week that's still in the bowl with this curded milk. I'm just going to put the lobster on top of that. You don't have to eat the cereal, but this all I have to put the lobster in. I'm going to put that on top of that. You want it? go ahead and eat that today. Right. What? But I thought we love lobster. What happened? What happened? I mean, I took all this time to make this lobster for you. Why don't you want it? What's the problem? Because I put it on top of some stuff that has gone bad that you definitely don't want to digest. You don't want to eat. You already know it's contaminated. You already know that it's going to make you sick. And so no, that's how I was seeing what was happening inside my city with Ferguson, right? I was like, how can we continue to turn a blind eye and create all this stuff of love and peace and happiness? And we haven't dealt with this junk. We have to ungun this. We got to start fresh and come from a different place before we put all this good stuff on top of it. We can't ignore what just happened.
Yes.
Right? So that's how UnGUN came into play.
I love that.
And I started creating, doing speaking engagements and creating these self-help tools, just little things. It's not even that it takes much. You all named some of it earlier. It really isn't superficial if you take time out to do this every single day. All I'm asking you to do is to make a deposit into your overflow bank account by doing 314 3 times a day. Choose one activity to do for yourself for 4 minutes. 3 times a day, one positive activity for yourself for 4 minutes at a time. That's it.
That's awesome.
If you have that extra in your overflow of emotional intelligence, when something happens, you won't just fall apart. You won't just
knee-jerk react
and run off or don't deal with it or fight somebody. You have something in your overflow to pull from emotionally because you have been pouring into yourself with this self-care. What are some of those things? You named some of it earlier. Taking a bath, lighting a candle, maybe even writing a love letter to someone that you love. I love the fact, Dawn, that you talked about how you and your husband sat down and was like, okay, maybe it's time. Maybe this is what we're going to, in our first try, this is what, have you ever written him a letter to just talk about that experience and give that letter to him on Father's Day? Have you, and I'm just you, because creativity is once we ungun the unnecessary things, the stuff we don't need anymore, that old bowl of cereal and milk, once we toss that out, then we can put the lobster inside and create a beautiful meal, something that anybody would want, right? So what are some of those things that you can do? I've created a coloring book. This coloring book is an adult coloring book of different people that I've met at the Oscars and the Emmys, and we have and people that have UnGUN different things or what have you. So it's like you have these little pages of coloring book. That's
great.
Yeah, this is me and some of our other peace ambassadors around the nation. Anything dealing with UnGUN, if they've had an experience with UnGUN, they're probably in this coloring book. And sit down for three times a day and with your colored pencils, and for 4 minutes, just color, release, let go. I didn't say check your emails. No, I don't want you to do that. I didn't say get on the phone with your girlfriend, because you don't know what she's going to say in those 4 minutes. And it's probably going to be a longer conversation than that. This is self-care. This is something that you can do for you, just with you. This is also our journal, Breathe, Relax, Create. And inside of this journal is just different prompts for you to do that's helping you to remember. And so in between, this is a 7-day journal. So on every day, a new page, you see me. So Dr. Marty I'm right there with you, and I'm reminding you, you can do this. You can UnGUN. You are worth it. And so what I love about these tools are traveling all around the world. We have people in schools that's doing 314, and teachers bring me in on Zoom to talk to their students to get them started on that. We have we're going to businesses, and we're getting this in the hands of those who can get a hold of this journal and this coloring book and do 314. And we're creating different things every single day, but there's so many things that you can do at home, whatever it is that you love. So I want to ask you, Dawn and Trish, what are some of those things that you love? Or name one thing, Dawn, that you love to do that brings you personal joy.
Okay. I love to give myself praise and acknowledgement. And when I go in the bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth or doing whatever, because we all go to this is the thing. I remind my clients to do this too. We all go to the bathroom how many times a day, right? It's a place where we have privacy. We go be with ourselves for a few minutes, right? To relieve ourselves. And it's a moment where you can weave that you need self-care, take it while you're in there. So I wash my hands and I think about what I need to wash away. Like, what do I need to let go of? So I'll just say, I love myself and I'm clearing and I'm letting go as I wash my hands. And I'll look in my eyes and I'll say, I love you. I acknowledge you. You're amazing. And I'll praise and acknowledge myself for whatever I'm going through, even if it's hard. I'll acknowledge what I've been through. I'll bring forward something that I need. Tell myself the things that I've always wished others would say to me. I give it to myself.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much, Dawn. I love that so much. And let me tell you why. One thing, you're already doing 314. Now, you may not have been calling it that, right? But that's what you're doing. You've set aside time that every time you go to the restroom, you're depositing positively back into your life. And I love that so much. There's just one thing that I would like to add, if you will, because I want you to be able to see when you go. I don't want to just let me say this. I don't want to go to my bank and make a deposit and then I can't go check and see how much I have in there. What you're doing is great. But as you said, you wash your hands and and you're saying words and then the words are disappearing. I want you literally to do something where you can go back and see your investment. See, if I have you doing something in a journal, you can go back and see what you've written down.
I do too.
You see what I'm saying? So what I want you to do, I want to create something with you today. I want you to make a little jar, a decorative jar, and put some little bitty pieces of paper next to that jar. After you washed your hands, I want you to just write one word and put inside of that jar.
I love that.
Out of the restroom. Yeah. So I want you to be able to see your deposits that you're making inside of yourself. That's what 314 is all about. So it's more than just doing that 3 times a day, that one activity for 4 minutes, but it's really about adding to your overflow. And in order for you to see what you're adding, what you have inside of you, do you have enough? You're going to have to visually be able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be able to visually see it.
I like that. That's great.
Trish, you're up, sunshine. What is it that you love to do?
Oh, I don't have anything that has like a physical representation. The practices of self-care that I do daily look a lot like acknowledging the self-empathy tool, which I used to teach. And so it's like just at any random moment, I'll stop, take a deep breath in, acknowledge my thoughts, and then my feelings and what I want, need, or desire, so that it becomes, so for people like me, which fearful avoidant is kind of like scary, dangerous childhood has left me not really connected to my feelings or my wants and needs. Hence, the work that I do in the world is to help people really tap into that. So for me, just being able to acknowledge that this thought is running this emotion, like, oh shit, like
Mhm.
or this emotion is stimulating this thought. So like, okay, that's a chemical reaction. I finally got the ding, 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 and to run it into a want and need so that I can just be like, hey, Marty, I'm anxious right now. There's a lot of moving parts in my life. And what I need is some rest and watching a movie. So that's just to relax. And actually that technique, Dawn's seen it, has changed my life. And that's something that I do all the time, even in good feeling moods. So
Mhm.
that I'm literally touching, like I'm really aligning my emotions and my wants,
So
needs, and values.
explain it one more time for me, because maybe I missed something.
Okay.
Tell me how it goes.
All right. Well, we'll just run it for everyone. For everyone, pick the last judgment you had about yourself. Whatever that may be, whatever his thought is. Like, I'm too much. We'll just use that one because it's a common. Too much or too little, it's the same one, right? So I'm too much. And run that thought just 15 seconds. And then drop it down into your heart. Drop down into your feeling space and really feel what's there. The feeling of whatever judgment you had. Maybe it's disappointment or fear or unsettledness. Maybe there's calmness there. Maybe there's some agitation. Just really allow yourself to, if you're, out there in the world, just say it out loud. What's the feeling there? Really give yourself the acknowledgement and the validation by speaking your feeling out loud. And then take a nice deep breath down in your stomach, your solar plexus, and give yourself the opportunity to name what it is that you want. What's underneath this feeling that you want? If it's upset or distress or fear, like maybe you want safety. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I'm too much, and I really want safety and to know that I'm included in connection. Or maybe it's I'm too little. Oh my gosh, I'm so disappointed, or my parents are disappointed in me because I didn't get the A, and I really just want to know that I'm good enough. I want to know that I'm safe here. I want to know that I'm valued. And then you can just say that. So, oh, I'm afraid that I'm too much, and I'm afraid that I'm too much. And that I really want to know that I have community and I have connection and that I'm loved for just being all of this weird thing. That I can be accepted there. And so then I can speak to that. And so and then the last part of that conversation for me is, how do I give those things to myself before I ask Dawn to do them for me? How do I self-source my need for safety and connection? Because for all of you who've been here before, who's feeling the feelings? The person feeling the feelings. So who's feeling the feelings? I'm feeling the feelings. You're not feeling the feelings of disconnect. I'm feeling it. So how do I become connected to self again so that I can move forward and be like, okay, y'all, I just did all of these things. I took a shower to hack my nervous system, which is one of the things. I take a shower when I'm freaking out. Or I just danced around for 15 minutes, which now my body is feeling more relaxed. I've done all these things to feel connected to my body. I've felt all the pains. I've gotten to myself. And now Dawn, I would really love to just hear that I can be loved for being myself. And even when I'm over the top.
Mhm.
So it's a love coach Scott kind of tool. It's one of his tools that I've kind of morphed myself. But that's the one thing that I do. It's now on habit. I've run it so many times, it's now habitual, and that's what makes it easy for me to show up.
That's awesome. Hey, anything that works, we don't want to touch anything that works. If it works, we want you to keep working it, and that's awesome and amazing. I really like that. The one thing that I do want to say, you mentioned dancing. Do you do dance? Don't you?
Mhm. She loves dancing.
Yeah,
I flail around like a hippie weirdo.
I love that. So doing 3-1-4 for 4 minutes, you can just do a free dance, whatever that might look like. You can just put on some music and dance. Now, the one thing that I want you to do, because it's about, again, being able to really see the deposits that you're making. So I would ask that you at least dance to a different piece of music every day and make a list of those songs.
You mean you want me to create a playlist?
You're creating a playlist.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That, yeah. And so that is what, so 314, it becomes so personal, and then it reminds you of what's working for you and what you can do. And it is, and I love that, because then what you'll start sharing that with Dawn. You're like, Dawn, I did 314, and oh my gosh, have you heard this song? This song was so amazing. I danced, I think I probably danced over my 4 minutes because I had to put it on repeat. And so that 314 becomes something that you can share, and it goes into the overflow, because you're going to start showing up differently with other people talking about what you're doing that's helping you. But it doesn't include, you don't get to dance with Dawn. You don't get to then play that song and then you and Dawn start dancing. No, it has to stay so personal because it's in your bank account.
Oh yeah. It's funny that you said
share
that.
the moment. You can share the moment and talk to her about it, or you walk and just go dancing and doing your own thing, but that doesn't count for your 314. When you're doing 314, it has to be about you.
Yes. It's funny because it's literally what I shared yesterday. I was like, I have this song on repeat and I dance around in the car, and I've been dancing all over. Like I just like wiggle my tail, and I totally shared it with Dawn. I have this one song on repeat.
See, and I didn't even know that. That's what I'm saying.
That's so perfect.
Trauma is transferable, but so is healing.
Yes, it is.
So is healing.
And I'll send in the chat right now or in the comment box the song that I'm listening to, so you can do it yourself. But you're so right. And Marty, what I'm loving that you're bringing in is really this piece of a physical, visual representation of your deposits to yourself. And I understand why it's so important, because it's, we are, I mean, if we're seeing humans, if we have the ability to have sight, even if you don't have the ability to have sight, having like some visual, like touchy feely, or some aspect of seeing something grow, the aspect of growing something is really crucial to evolution. Because I mean, how many times, unless you're keeping a journal, okay, so I love this. I kept a journal maybe 10 years ago, and I just read it again, and I was like, oh my God, it's the same stuff that I'm working on now, but it's very different places on the spectrum of this work. It's like way over here versus, and I'm like, wow, I've grown a lot. And I see the importance of being able to look back and have that, you know what, you are doing the work.
I love it. I love it.
I just love that you're giving everyone permission to disarm the trauma. Thank you for that. Like, I really hear your message so loud and clear, and I really celebrate it and share in the same desire, because like that's the work I do in the world too, is I'm rooted in like helping people really dissect and understand the roots of where it's coming from and connect the dots so that you can, dissolve it completely in your consciousness. So I really celebrate you for this work given in the world, and your message and your light and all the love you've poured into it. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. It's been a lifetime of working on this, working on me. And just so I celebrate the idea when others allow me to then assist them in working on themselves. Now, you notice I didn't say allowing me to work on them. I can't work on anyone else.
No, it's you
journey on yourself. It's such a you thing. it's such a personal you thing. And that's what I really love about UnGUN. But I do want to share this, because this is a very historical moment that I'm really proud of. I'm proud of two things that I would like to share. The first thing is, just last month, I received the Lifetime Presidential Award, which is signed by President Joe Biden. And the reason that I feel that it's important for me to share that in this moment is because I want you to know that this lifetime of work this body of work that I've been doing, it has even reached the desk of the president of the United States. And so this isn't, I'm not just coming on here showing you some books and saying, oh, this is what I did last week and want you to get one of those. That's not why I do what I do. This has been a lifetime of trying to save lives. And I made a conscious decision that I will no longer continue to keep up with the death count and counting deaths. I want to count lives. It is so important for us to do that, right? And so the other thing that I want to share is that I know that a lot of when we talk about trauma and hurt and pain and how hurt people, healed people heal people. I've talked about it here in a couple of little spots that I don't sit here in a place of judgment dealing with law enforcement. I do understand that they are a group of people that are hurting more than most. When you think about that, we call 911. Right? When we're experiencing some type of trauma or event in our life that we can't control, we call 911, and we expect those individuals to show up to help, to protect and serve and help us. And so every call that they get, they're already responding to a call of trauma. Trauma is transferable. We have to start looking and understanding that this group of people that have been responding in the manner that they have been responding with some of the stories that we have seen, and on television and in the news or what have you, and on social media, we have to understand that that is a cry out for that. This is the group that really need our help and our attention more than anyone right now. And if we reverse that, if we reverse the judgment and not looking at it as to how they're showing up in the extreme of what has happened, but we look at that as an alarm being sound off to saying, hey, we need to show them some love. We need to help them to heal. So I've really been connecting with law enforcement, with UnGUN Institute, and I'm rolling out a new program called Grace Over Gunfire. And I'm so excited that I will be sitting with the St. Louis Police Department tomorrow. And then in January, I will be doing a workshop with Alexandria, Louisiana Police Department. And in February, I will be working in Dallas with the Dallas Police Department and LAPD. So well, back to you. And so we are really getting something done. It's more than just, talking about it. We have to be about it. That means we have to pray with our feet. We have to pray with our feet. It's not just prayer without works is dead. We really have to pray with our feet. Mean we have to put movement behind it and some action. Make some action happen.
That's beautiful. I just wish you so much grace and ease with spreading that work into the world, because it's true what you're speaking about. We got to go right into the heart of where there's been issues and really address it from a place of loving.
Yeah.
And all angles, and really love every person, every part, hold it all. And it sounds like your program does that. And I wish so much grace and joy and just prosperity. May it prosper in all ways.
Thank you so much. I receive all of that. I really do. And that's what we're supposed to do. Let's, be a helpmate to one another, right? And so we can do that by lifting each other up, by praying for each other, by supporting each other, making donations, or just really spreading the word. Everything doesn't have to end with, start with $, and end with signing your name to a check. Some things can just simply be, let me share the good news. Let me tell as many people as I can, Dr. Marty exists, and she's created UnGUN, and she's working with the police department with a program, Grace Over Gunfire. Spread the word. Those who have the check to write, they'll find me. But sometimes the work that the others can do in between, those are the ones that really help to push the movement forward.
I'm definitely pushing the movement forward.
Yes, thank you. And you've done that today, Trish, just by inviting me and asking me to come on your platform. Remember what I said, as an actress, when Ferguson happened, what did I do? I stopped to go and say, I have a stage, I have a mic.
Yes.
And I'm willing to speak to the people. That's what I'm accustomed to doing. So sometimes it's just about using the tools that you have, and everything else that you need will show up.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's definitely part of the vision. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time and your energy. And thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Scott Thomas.
Yes, Scott, I love Scott. I love Scott so much. He is so awesome about connecting people and really shining the light on what we're trying to do collectively. So again, we have experienced collective trauma, ladies. We know that, right? Now it's time to experience collective healing.
Collective healing. Yes.
Healing. So if there's anybody out there that's listening and want to know more about that, and you need this on your job, or you need this in your home, or you need this in your community, in whatever space that you in, you don't know how to do it, please contact me at unguninstitute.com.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
on.
I've added that into the chat in the comment box. So take that away.
Thank you so much again. You're beautiful, Dr. Marty, and I really celebrate your work in the world. And again, just many, many blessings. May all that need this work really find it, and with grace and ease, it spread like wildfire to really, pour the love into all the containers that it's needing to go into, and all the people and all the places, and just may exponential healing happen for all.
I receive it. Thank you so much. Don't forget to do your 314, everybody.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
See you next week.